Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where people conform to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Hit the like and subscribe, and let's begin. We have 3 great stories for you today. The first story. Schedule Black Magic. First, a disclaimer. This occurred in a country that has both an awesome set of labor standards and the common practice of companies ignoring them, especially in my field. I was starting a new job. The basic contract had no serious red flags. After signing, the owner asked if I would be willing to work late, 1 or 2 days, to go home early, 1 or 2 early. I told her it was fine, as long as it was an even trade. Later, she said I should be at work 30 minutes early because work starts at 9 a.m. sharp. I met with the manager once, before the start date, and she said the same thing about coming early. I decided to see how the rest of the work and schedule went before making a stink about it. If the hours relax and they let us go home after wrapping up, no big deal. I started my first day, and the schedule was a train wreck. Scheduled to work late 3 days and go home early 1 day. Hours work out to 40, but still not what I verbally agreed to. Breaks are 15 to 30 minutes throughout the day, and our labor standards state that for 40 hours, they should be a minimum of a 1-hour block. Besides the small breaks, work was straight through 9 to 6. Breaks are unpaid and don't count against the 40 in this country, but are still mandatory. Even after you wrap up your duties, you're expected to stay. Whenever I just mentioned needing to talk about it, the manager said, "It's okay," or "We can't change it now," and refused to even listen. Cue malicious compliance. I kept meticulous records of my time and combed the labor standards. More than 8 hours of work per day is OT. More than 40 hours of work per week is OT. Any break that doesn't meet the minimum requirement is considered work, i.e. OT. The owner asked me for a meeting when I'm on my way out the door. More OT. After the first month, I handed the owner my invoice for OT payment. She was livid. Coming in 30 minutes early was a suggestion. No, I was told to do it by 2 supervisors. The breaks add up to 1 hour each day. Doesn't matter. They should be a solid hour, not piecemeal. The meeting was just us talking. You told me you needed to talk to me. You didn't ask. You agreed to work late some days. Yes, for an even trade. This schedule isn't even. Why didn't you talk to us? I tried, and the manager refused. The owner took the invoice and said she'd think about it. Her husband was a lawyer, so I'm sure she looked for ways to fight it. In the end, I was paid. My schedule was magically reworked to meet the requirements, and they begged me not to tell the other workers. Epilogue. I didn't directly tell the coworkers. I did drop big hints about the labor standards when they asked about my schedule versus theirs. Sadly, they never pushed the issue. During the year I was there, I saw huge employee turnover. They were simply overworked. One poor worker cried at least once a week. Only 2 workers that were there when I started remained when I left. The turnover led to client retention issues, which led to downsizing for the next cycle. The second story. Work overtime and get you transferred? Sure. So years ago, I was working for a popular restaurant supply chain as a forklift driver. I held many positions there over the years, but took a step down from management to work at a nicer store for the same pay. Every night we were supposed to separate our pallets by type and leave them in the back. A lot of drivers failed to do this. Recently, we had gotten a new management trainee who, when closing the store, began to blame me for this. So one night, after I had finished up and separated my pallets, I had my department manager take a photo in front of them, giving a thumbs up to show to the manager when he inevitably blamed me for bringing an unseparated stack. Sure enough, I got a call to the office with the new manager saying he had seen me bring an unseparated stack to the back on camera. I pulled my phone out and said the only stack I brought back was this one, showing him the photo. He got angry and said he had a video and he didn't care. He walked with me to the back room, and there were a lot of unseparated pallets. He told me to organize them, and I told him I did my job and I was going home. And if he had any problems, contact the store assistant manager, who had made it clear I was not allowed to work any more overtime, as I was getting too much already. The new trainee begins screaming in my face so angrily that he is spitting all over me, saying, "I don't care, he's not here right now, and I am not afraid of him." I then said, "Sure, I'll do the pallets tonight," and spent the next 2 hours separating the pallets. The next morning, I walked in and right up to the assistant store manager, telling him exactly what had happened. He said, "Don't worry about it, I believe you, and he's being transferred to another store." Sure enough, he got transferred to the store I came from, 25 miles away, where he already said he'd kill himself if he ever was sent there. He got fired about a month later after he sexually harassed a minor. The third story. You are going to assign me to make balloon animals at a site with no kids? Okay, I'll just do my job. Way back, in the long, long ago, in the before times, mid-level chain restaurants would have these people walk around to make balloon animals for kids as they waited for their food. I was a teenager and needed money, so I did this for a while. The restaurant would pay this agency, and they would tell us what restaurant to go to and when. Key to this story is that we were not paid. An average night, I'd make around $50 in tips over 3 hours. On a special night, it could be as high as 200, but if there were no customers, I'd make nothing. Working for several months, I must have fallen out of someone's favor, and I got assigned to a restaurant in the business district. I have no idea why they wanted someone making balloon animals there. The key audience was kids, and I never saw anyone there under 30. First night there, I made $5, which wasn't even enough to cover mass transit to and from the location. After being assigned there twice in a row, I complained, but was told that if I didn't go, I'd be banned from any more assignments. Cue the malicious compliance. The next week, when I was assigned there, which was the third time in a row, I waited until there were a couple of guys at the bar that were tipsy. I go up and ask if they want balloon hats, no charge. They were hesitant, but I promised they would be good. They agreed, and I got to work. Broke out all of my skills to make these hats that were clearly people in a cage. People were all pink and had prominent bubbles on their chest and derriere. An inflated balloon tied around the waist made for a bikini bottom, and a carefully tied balloon in their hand made for a bikini top. They asked what it was, and I told them it was a stripper in a cage. They loved it. I got a $20 tip, but more importantly, they went to every person in the restaurant to show off their strippers in cages hats. They demanded to talk to the manager to tell him how awesome it was. The super, uptight, fundamentalist manager. Manager was majorly pissed and told me to go home early. Agency called, pissed off, but I used my most innocent voice to tell them I was just making what the customer asked for, and I didn't know they'd make a scene. Agency said, well, they banned you from ever coming back. The next week, I was back to another $17 an hour location. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to know when the new videos come out.